Good morning, everyone. My name is Shakira Petit. I'm the National President for Education Reform Now, in 504 and 50C3 arm that does the legislative work behind education reform, pushing legislation, pushing electives, and pushing our communities to support our students. I am honored to be here today to talk to our student experts, as well as be joined by my co-host, Sky Ali Johnson. We've had really lively conversations with them on Zoom and even in the back. They are the most talented group of young people I've met in a very, very long time. You have entrepreneurs, you have future doctors, you have writers, you have public speakers, you have those that are budding who desperately need us to hear them. And so today our conversation is going to be about your voice, what you need us to know. So what is it that you love or have loved about your educations in the past? And what is it that you wish adults knew now?
I think I've loved the teachers who were willing to accommodate. So even just my kindergarten teacher who advocated for me to start kindergarten a year early because she recognized that I was really bored and needed some pushing, and was ready even when the kindergarten classes weren't enough pushing to give me something else to do and something to try that was harder. And then on the flip of that, I think something that adults should recognize more is that we are all individuals. We're not just numbers on a spreadsheet or in your Schoology tab or whatever you're using. We are actual people, and we have hopes and dreams and wants and needs and things that make us incredibly annoyed, just like adults do.
Emphasis on the annoyed part, especially at this stage. Let's lean just a little bit into what the teacher knew. What's it like when teachers get it? What does that do for you as a student in the classroom? And I'm gonna pass this to the beautiful young lady next to you.
When I feel heard as a student, a young adult, I feel accomplished. Like I feel like I've done something. Like being heard by an older adult that's in charge of you is amazing. Like them actually listening and hearing you out and potentially doing something about that, doing something about the problem, whether it's you need help on something, whether you feel like you're being overworked. Just, I just feel like it's amazing.
That's awesome. I love that. And Hezekiah, can you give me the flip of that? What is it like when you're not being heard by the teachers and the staff and the other adults that are in charge of you in the school?
It's not many people that actually like school. And so, when that doesn't happen, it's like, why am I here?
Wow. And in your collective experiences, so how often do you feel like you're in a space or you're in a room or a lab and the teacher is not connected and not paying attention? You have something.
It's not like anything super detail-y, but it's hardly ever, honestly, in my experience. And whether that's just because it's a large class or because that it's, they just don't really care. It's a very rare minority that I actually see adults, teachers who care about their students and actually teaching those students instead of just reading off another slide.
Wow. So the distinction between doing your job and being connected to the humans and the lives in the room is very clear.
I think I've been lucky enough that I've had more teachers than not who did care about what was happening with me. Even if there were a lot of other kids in the room, I was lucky enough to have teachers who would find 5 minutes to go, hey, what's going on with you? Or what do you think about this assignment? And that's given me those spaces over time it's almost given me the ability to grow emotionally, because if I can think about what I would say to somebody who's asking me a question when they care, then I can have those same conversations with myself when I need to think about something. And even if I'm on my own, I can still do that.
That's great. That is absolutely wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about how that relationship develops in the classroom, right? So you have 180 school days with this particular person, maybe there's a TA, maybe there's an assistant. How do you see the relationship evolving and developing to the place where they are that connected to you and they don't miss those moments where you need them to be aware of what's happening? How does that happen?
From my personal experience, if I have a rough day, I obviously have 5 teachers, staff I could go talk to, but there will always be one person that I will pick first, which is my special education teacher. I feel like she's not only patient, but really understanding, since most art teachers at my school are still young. They're still in their early 20s. So they get us more as they're closer to our age than my other school teachers would as they were in their late 40s. They're like 12, 13 years older than us. So I don't want to say they've been through what we've been through, but they've been through what we've been through. So they understand more than a 40-year-old woman or man would.
She throwing that age out there, ain't she? It's all right.
It's okay to be 40. Y'all still look young and wonderful.
She said you're young and wonderful at 40. That's less. We young and 40. So, but I think what my beloved is bringing out is that there are some gaps that we miss at times as adults. We believe that we have captured it all because, I'm senior to you. I've been to school. I've got 2 masters. I've been trained. I'm a leader. But there are things that we miss in the nuance of this generation specifically that are very, very important to not just building relationship, but helping to build them. So there's teaching and then there's educating. That's a full-time, full-embodied skill. I can teach a curriculum. When I'm educating you, you go home with pieces of me. You go home with lessons from me. You go home with what I've modeled for you throughout the day. And what I'm hearing is that sometimes there's only a handful that get that, and they get things missed when they don't. So Hezekiah, in a classroom that is innovative and creative, what does that do for you?
It inspires me. I like creating things, though I might not be the best at art. I can do like different things because I'm in a zone like that, Otherwise, compared to like a normal class, all you do is take notes, then take a test a few weeks later, and then the cycle continues. But when the class becomes creative, then that's when you want to go deeper into the subject. That's when you want to, learn more research just so that you can make something, that looks nice.
So going from, let me just take my notes, I'm listening to you for 45 minutes of my life, take a test 2 weeks later, and then the information is wherever it is, as opposed to give me the room and the space to be creative. Allow me to do some things.
That's when, most of the students will ask, like, especially in algebra class, oh, how will I use this in my normal life? But, like, when it becomes creative, then that's when, like, I can actually see myself probably using this, in construction and other stuff.
That's great. So you all have very unique types of schools that you go to. I remember we were talking on Zoom last week and you were telling me that there's specific classes at the end of the day that you guys really get to lean into. Can you give us just an example of the uniqueness of your current program and what it brings out of you?
I currently am on online school, FOVS, just normal, whatever. It doesn't necessarily bring out a lot of me. It's not very riveting education. It just kind of seems like the pointless repetition of the same 2 concepts over and over and over again. Like they're trying to hammer it in and get you to remember it, but it doesn't really make sense. I've been to good schools that don't do that.
So there's no connection to anything like tangible. It's memorize it and
you memorize it, you take a test. You don't need to learn it ever again.
Got it. Wow. So Drew?
What Summer's talking about reminds me of my 6th grade life science class. There are only so many times you can do capital and lowercase letters for Punnett squares before you hit letters that don't look any different from each other. And then you're like, well, what do we go from here?
Right.
Yeah.
Mendelian genetics is actually good. It's fun. We just got to teach it, a bit more creatively.
I want to major in genetics, but also if you told me to draw Punnett squares for 45 minutes for a month, I would probably start drawing Punnett squares into my eyeballs.
So the messaging there is, let's be creative in how we teach these things. And that's all the way back to 6th grade. That's an interesting year. That middle school bridge between elementary and high school is where we either capture you or we lose you. And so it's important for adults to know that if you're not giving us challenges and creativity in that middle school, it's going to be hard for us to kind of really lean in and have fun and dig into the deep work in high school.
At our school, I feel like the creativity is down. It's just more of how the teachers give us the energy. Because, like, if the teacher's going to walk in all bleh and not giving us the energy, then we're going to walk in all bleh. So I just feel like we need the energy when we're getting taught.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's 9 a.m. in the morning, give us the energy.
Drink your coffee and give me the energy. Yeah. Absolutely. What you may not know about this incredible young lady is she's also an entrepreneur. She has her own business. And so what she's learning in the classroom is absolutely translated into how she's modeling her business and creating her products. And if you could give us just a little snippet about how what you're learning shapes you as someone who creates products and is putting a brand out into the earth. How does that translate for you?
For our community asset projects, we usually get split up into groups that we have to make sure we're getting all the stuff down into our projects. And when some of them could be, the energy, and then some of them could be blah. When it's blah, it's like, I don't really want to do this. Like, even though I'm so passionate about my cosmetics, when I'd rather be in a room alone with my energy to get my stuff done than in a room with 10 other people that are all feeling sleepy and I just rather be like, okay, well, if this is the energy y'all are gonna bring, I'm gonna go over here and give me my energy, I'm gonna go over here and get my work done my way,
I love that. Hezekiah, what do you think?
I'm in a program called Peaks, and it's a project-based class. We learn, and then we have projects that we do. They basically are a deep dive of what we've learned. Like, we'll do further research, we'll draw things, some of us will sculpt things, some of us will construct things, mostly from cardboard and stuff. We made an album cover based on U.S. Supreme Court case, and we had to pick a song for every case. And, that's when I felt like, I like music. And so this is I can, I'm so excited that I can do this. It's not just a class where, draw something. If it looks bad, then you get an F. If it looks good, then you get an A. This is something that I can personally do myself. I don't even have to draw it physically. I can do it online, I work better online than I do physically sometimes.
Wow, that's great. Say that last part again. I want to make sure the audience heard it. You work better when?
I work better online than I do physically.
Keep going. You work better when?
Online than I do physically.
Online than you do physically.
Sometimes.
Depends on the project.
Yeah, it really depends.
So I'm going to ask a question to all of you. And this is the question that all parents, as well as educators, need answered. How has social media impacted, for good or for worse, your learning? Has it enhanced it? I see your face. Has it made it better? Has it made it worse? Has it distracted you? Has it helped you? What has it done? Because we're trying to figure out this problem. How much of it to allow you to have? How much of it to infuse in the curriculum? How much to allow it to come into the classroom? And we need you guys to help us.
I'm mostly saying that it genuinely depends on whatever student it is. I went to this public school for a while. They had pretty lax rules on phones or whatever. But a lot of kids would just take out their phones and start doing it. There is not a single rule that you can put on everybody to tell them, hey, give your kids this much screen time or give them this much. It depends. Hezekiah said that he works better online sometimes. Personally, I work better in person, like on a piece of paper most of the time. See? So it depends on the student, and that's one example, okay? One person, if they had complete full access to social media, they could be doing 10 assignments a day and like getting those amount of work done, and then another student with the same amount could be getting nothing done and be horrible at it.
Yeah, I like that. Sidru?
I don't know if it's lucky or unlucky, but my mom has always been very, very strict about what I am allowed to use and what I'm not allowed to use. I can see my dad nodding and laughing in the back. And so she was always very strict on you will not have any social media until you turn 13, which for me in middle school, going into middle school before turning 13 was like, are you kidding me? And now I'm 15, and I'm like, I still don't have any social media. I'd say what I do have in the YouTube and the introduction of like YouTube Shorts has kind of affected my attention span in some ways. So I do my best to try and balance out the YouTube Shorts and the 3-hour video essays. But as much as it's affected my attention span in some ways, it's also given me, access to information that I may not have otherwise. There's so much on the internet that's just waiting to be discovered, both good things and bad things. So, like Summer said, there's no hard and fast rule. Like, well, all my classes are online. All my work is on my computer. If I apply myself to that 2 hours a day minimum screen time limit, I'm not going to make it through my classes to lunch. For better or worse, we've built a world that is in many ways focused on being online. And yes, it affects our brains. And yeah, probably the Gen Z and the Gen after us is going to be sort of a test for, well, what happens to these kids when they're 30, 40, 50 years old, when they grew up with screens all around them all the time. But we don't have that information yet. So in the meantime, we just have to make do with what we do know and accept that sometimes we're just going to have to compromise on things.
I love that. I really love that. I'm curious to see, like you, what happens when you guys are 30, when everything is AI or chatbots or don't laugh. And so it's, how do we manage all of that, right?
I guess it depends how you're looking at it. When you say social media, do you mean work or friends? Both?
Ooh.
So I can give you a side of both.
I know you could. Let's do work first, and then we'll do friends, because that plays a part in the other.
For me, having my computer, just having Google, we're allowed to use Google.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's helpful when you're going deep and learning more about this project, or like how you expect me to go outside and just learn. Like just look around and be like, oh, okay, now I know this plant. I can use this plant. Like, no, I'm going to have to research this plant. So whether that's using my phone or my Chromebook, I think they help in big ways of learning, because you can't always just go outside in the world and automatically know that this is going to work.
Yeah.
So for that, I feel like it could be good. But then if we go to the friend side, I feel like when you have social media such as Instagram, iMessage, apps that you text on, that's where rumors, drama, stuff spreads, stuff gets around, and that's when we have an issue with our technology. I believe that's the only issue we have with our phones at our school, is the drama. I'm not sure if we have it anymore, because I chose to take a different pathway to focus on myself and take myself out of that drama, because it's stressful.
I know.
Even as that drama is happening, right? Like, that's when you begin to, care less about schoolwork and care less about, actual education. And that's when you're like, oh, I want to resolve this, or I want to add on to this. How can I do that? Mm-hmm. Like there's a good side and a bad side. Some good sides, there are news, education, just tutorials on how to do stuff. But on the bad side, there's once again drama, and that stuff. So social media can be a good thing and a bad thing because once again, information all over the place. It can be good information, bad information, information that's false, and even the information that's true is what we think is false because we've seen so many false things nowadays.
Yeah, I love that. And so first and foremost, can we give them a round of applause? You guys are absolutely incredible. You represent the best of this generation. Thank you so much for being here with us today to allow us to hear your voices. Thank you for being here to be a part of the conversation. We hope that you will take this back to your respective places, dig deep with the seeds, and grow up something great. Thank you.